What's good, everybody? This is Robo back with another video, and today we're doing a recap of Week 0 in college football. This week's video is going to be a bit different than other weeks because of how short it is. I'll be able to talk more about each game and show off some more highlights. Because of the size of the rest of the weeks, it'll be structured a little bit differently. I'm going to probably give my thoughts on the biggest games and storylines at the beginning of the video, and then show some highlights of the biggest games and best finishes, and then maybe show some top plays of the week before showing a weekly scoreboard of the games I didn't recap at the end of the video. I'll also be dropping weekly pick videos before any action gets started each week, and include a consistent track of my record with winners as well as against the spread at the beginning of each recap video. This week was a bit harder to predict with spreads as I didn't have the greatest knowledge of some of the teams. Typically the weekly videos are just going to be Power 5 teams and a better group of 5 games to keep things somewhat short and simple. Anyways, for this week I went 4-3 against the spread and 6-1 straight up. Not the best week, but not a negative one at least to get us started for the year. With that said though, let's get right into the recap. Notre Dame and Navy played the first game of the 2023 season all the way out in Ireland, and the Irish dominated this game from start to finish. I expected Notre Dame to come out hungry to prove any doubters wrong after last season, especially now with one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the country in Sam Hartman, and they did even better than I expected. Hartman was throwing absolute dots all over the field, going an absurdly efficient 19 for 23 for 251 yards and 4 touchdowns, and no disrespect to Ian Book or to Sean Kaiser, but Hartman looked like he could be the best quarterback the Irish have had in a very long time. Audric Estime was an absolute playmaker all night, picking up 121 all-purpose yards, including 95 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Freshman Jeremiah Love made his debut in the backfield and took 4 carries for 40 yards in the day. Fellow freshman Jaden Greathouse was a huge standout as well, picking up 2 touchdowns on 3 receptions that went for 68 yards. Jaden Thomas and Deion Colsey were the other 2 receivers grabbing touchdown passes from Hartman for the Irish. The Notre Dame defense took advantage of a couple miscues early from Navy and held the rushing attack to just 128 yards on 47 attempts. The Irish absolutely cruised to a 42-3 victory in the season opener.
Hartman feeling the pressure, evades, now he's going to run it. No, he's going to throw it. Wow. Wide open, touchdown!
Worked awfully well for the Irish.
Hartman taking his time, dump it down. Oh, tough catch.
Just a power back here. There's a Hartman at the end of the down, just finding his check down. It's off of Eston.
Ribs, so they had to go in last year as Hartman gets it right to Colsey on the outside. Colsey stays on his feet and takes it in. Mental toughness, and no matter what the situation is in front of them, they're going to find their way out of it. Goes back to that easy day. How about the easy throw on the first completion of the day? Fitchburg, Maryland, out of Westminster High School. And this kick is good.
Jacksonville State entered their first game at the FBS level as a 1-point underdog to UTEP, and despite a really poor game through the air, they used a dynamic rushing attack to pull out their first win. As I mentioned in my pick video, I was taking Jacksonville State in this game because a team who can run the ball well at home typically bodes well for game results, and they ran for over 200 yards in the day at a 5-yard per carry clip as a team. Malik Jackson and Ron Wiggins were the leading rushers, picking up a touchdown and 13 carries each. Zion Webb was just 10 for 20 through the air, but rushed 10 times for 55 yards, continuing the effective ground game. Defensively, they played much better than expected as well, behind an 11-tackle game from Quay Drake, 1.5 sacks from Larry Worth, and 2 picks from the secondary. UTEP's Gavin Hardison threw for 208 yards in the day, but with 2 interceptions, a fumble, and a 29.1 QBR. Deion Hankins picked up a rushing touchdown and 15 carries and 54 yards. And the biggest game of the day for UTEP came out of junior receiver Kelly Acarier as he hauled in 4 receptions for 102 yards and a score. The final score of this one was 17-14 in favor of the Gamecocks.
Hardison airs it out. End zone. Caught. No. Did he get it? Hankins in the backfield. They'll throw it. Hardison looking, fires, and it's intercepted.
The UMass Minutemen were no doubt the biggest shock of the day, coming off a 1-11 season last year and jumping out to a massive win over New Mexico State on the road, 41-30. This was the only winner prediction I got wrong, and I actually predicted the right number of points out of the Aggies, but did not expect the dominant offensive performance we saw out of UMass in this game, putting up 41 points as a whole. Tyson Pumachan had an outstanding UMass debut, throwing for 192 yards on 17 attempts and rushing for 96 and a score on 17 carries. Kayron Lynch Adams picked up 2 rushing touchdowns out of the backfield with 79 yards of his own as well. Isaiah Rutherford had a huge 55-yard pick 6 for the UMass defense, putting the Minutemen up 3 scores in the 4th. New Mexico State quarterback Diego Pavia threw for nearly 250 yards and 3 scores, but an interception early on and a fumble and a late pick 6 flipped the game upside down for the Aggies. Monty Watkins had a crazy 80-yard rushing score, and his only other carry went for 15 yards in this game. Trent Hudson scored twice on 2 receptions, 1 for 42 yards and 1 goal line score, but ultimately the Aggies' mistakes cost them big time and a rough loss at home to kick off the season.
First and goal from the 10. Handoff is to Lynch Adams. Can he get there? Pavia looking to the right side, across the field, and he's picked off. Feet. Eyes Isaiah Rutherford. 2nd and 10. 4-man rush. Pavia airing it out. End zone. Touchdown.
What they've done tonight.
Lynch Adams has some space. There's a tick. Down to 5. Pavia gets it off. This will be the last play of the game. End zone. Touchdown.
San Diego State, Ohio was a game I was really looking forward to, as we got to see MAC Player of the Year Curtis Rourke return from injury. But unfortunately, after just 10 pass attempts, Rourke suffered a minor injury that caused backup CJ Harris to play the remainder of the game, and he struggled a ton against a really solid Aztec defense. He threw 41 passes overall, connecting on just 18 of them, and gave up 3 interceptions on the night. As a team, Ohio was only able to pick up 3 yards per carry on the day as well. Sam Wiglis had a big day for the Ohio offense, hauling in 10 receptions for 103 yards, and Miles Cross grabbed the only touchdown of the day for the Bobcats. For the Aztec offense, Jalen Maiden didn't have his best day either, but kept control of the football, passing for 164 yards, 2 scores, and no turnovers. Jalen Armstead picked up 78 yards on the ground and 8 carries, including 1 for 48 yards to lead the way, and Mark Redmond hauled in both touchdown passes from Maiden, going for 5 receptions and 62 yards on the night. The final score ended 20-13 in favor of the Aztecs, covering that 3-point spread.
Putting them down, finally out of bounds.
Davis is in the backfield. Over the middle, it's caught, it's touchdown. On 1st and goal. Nice. The corner route, bingo, there it is. Miles Cross for the touchdown. Far back as the 20-yard line they await. Harris's pass is intercepted. That's what happens. Bringing it back and finally stepping out of bounds.
Vanderbilt entered their opener as a 3-score favorite and played a decent game at least through the air. A.J. Swan finished 19 for 30 for 258 yards passing and 3 touchdowns on the night, including 2 to Will Shepard, who hauled in 6 receptions in total. Jaden McGowan picked up 6 receptions as well for the Commodore offense, as well as a 97-yard kick return touchdown in the first quarter, but the lack of a ground attack really slowed the offense, as outside of sacks, they took 20 carries for just 70 yards rushing. Patrick Smith had a couple solid carries in the night, but the offense was pretty dependent on throwing all over the weak Hawaii secondary. DeRicky Wright had a huge impact in this game, picking up 2 interceptions for the Vandy defense. Hawaii played a much better game than I expected, and despite being down 3 touchdowns at one point, kept fighting till the end behind Braden Shager's 350-yard 3-touchdown day. He did throw 2 interceptions, but as a whole, he had 27 completions and 35 attempts. Pafele Ashlock was a standout player in this one, grabbing 7 receptions for 127 yards and a touchdown, including a couple of highlight grabs. Stephen McBride hauled in the other 2 touchdowns and a 7-reception, 98-yard night. Isaiah Tufanga picked up 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss in the night for the Hawaii defense, but ultimately Vandy got the win 35-28.
He's going to throw the deep ball down there. Touchdown to Stephen McBride. The head coach at Vandy had a lot to do with that. On a 3rd down, he's watching his receiver break free, and Jaden McGowan.
I didn't see much there.
I don't understand why he's pleading his case. Shager dumps it off, and it's caught by Pulu. He's inside the 10, the 5, to the goal line, but he fumbled, but it's covered by Hawaii.
Bottom of your screen.
Shager looking to the top instead, pumps, throws to the back, and it's intercepted. Swan gets rid of it, throws, touchdown. Swan steps out of the trouble. Right at the line of scrimmage, over the top, complete. Gamari up there at the 33, and we could have a free play for Vandy, and a free play's a touchdown. On a 3rd and 1, Shager's going to throw the deep ball. He's got a one-on-one battle, and it's caught. Shager throws underneath, grab made, spinning in the end zone, touchdown. He's going to throw the deep ball behind the defense. Caught! The game on the line. Hawaii trying to stay in it on a 4th and 3. And it's Ashlock making a move to the end zone.
Stop the clock.
Shager drifts, back throws, picked off. Stepping in front is DeRicky Wright, his 2nd pick of the night.
The reigning Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams kicked off his 2023 campaign at home against San Jose State, and despite the game being close for a while, Caleb showed off some incredible arm talent, throwing for 4 touchdowns and 278 yards in just over 3 quarters of action. He hit Arizona transfer Dorian Singer for the first score, which will likely be the first of many this season for Singer. Taj Washington hauled in the 2nd touchdown on a 76-yard pass after a fumbled snap by Caleb. True freshman 5-star Zachariah Branch had an unbelievable debut, taking 4 receptions for 58 yards and a touchdown, as well as a 96-yard kick return house call, showing off incredible burst and open field ability in his first game action. Brennan Rice had only one catch, but it was a good one, going for the final touchdown pass of the day. On the ground for USC, Austin Jones ran for 2 scores on just 6 attempts, going for 54 yards in total. Both Quentin Joyner and Marshawn Lloyd had solid days as well behind Jones. San Jose State stayed in this game throughout the first half and put up 28 points as a whole thanks to a pretty strong game out of Chavon Cordero, who threw for nearly 200 yards and 3 touchdowns and rushed for another 50. Quali Conley took his best carry of the day for 57 yards and in total ran for 108 on just 6 attempts. Nick Nash led the receiving room with 6 catches for 89 yards and all 3 touchdowns. The final score in this one was USC 56, San Jose State 28.
There's a shot. That's for Nash. And Nash has a touchdown! Earlier, Terrence Shive is kicking off here into the field. Oh, and Branch. That's a great job. What a great job by Zachariah Branch. Freshman to the house. A wide receiver look, even though he was labeled a tight end. Well, there's a nice reception, and Brendan Rice getting out, so athletic now, as Moss with a keeper scores. Chevin Cordero, and he has an open man for
the final game of the night was between Louisiana Tech and Florida International, and this game was right down to the wire with the game-winning touchdown coming in the final minute as Louisiana Tech's Jacob Fields took his only carry of the game, 30 yards for the winning score. Boise State transfer Hank Backmeyer threw for a huge 333 yards on 44 attempts with 1 touchdown and 1 pick on the night. The rushing attack wasn't getting the job done for the most part, and Backmeyer kept finding Smoke Harris open as he hauled in 11 receptions for 155 yards and a touchdown, which went for 64 yards. For Florida International, the game plan was super run-heavy as Grayson James was just 5 for 14 through the air for an unbelievably low 4 passing yards and 1 interception. Shamari Lawrence carried the offensive load, taking 15 carries for 139 yards, including a 67-yard touchdown to start the game off, and the other score on the night came from backup running back Antonio Patterson. Just absolutely zero resemblance of a passing game for FIU, and that ultimately hurt them big time, and they fell by the late score 22-17.
Harris slipping away from the tackles. Harris makes a miss. The 43-yard field goal attempt is outgained FIU, and yet the Panthers still have a chance. Touchdown, Louisiana. The Bulldogs take the lead.
That's it for week 0. Stay tuned for hopefully Wednesday when I drop my week 1 picks video going over a much larger slate. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching as always. Feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.